welcome to Series 2, Episode 2 of Dealer's Choice. And today, everybody's been asking for him. And I mean everybody. So ladies and gentlemen, we got him. It's the Ludo Show.
How yous doing?
Not bad, my friend, not bad. Yeah, ever since I started this, or when people knew I was doing this, I don't care about World Series of Poker winners and that. We get Ludo and get Ludo on. So finally we got you. We know you're a busy man, Ludo. How's it been going anyway?
It's been going well. It was a lot of time online, obviously. I'm saying, like, out of the 6 or 7 months of lockdown, must have been putting in a grind of about at least 3 months non-stop online.
And how's apart from the online stuff, how's lockdown or quarantine, as it were, how's it been treating you?
It's actually not affected me. I'm saying, like, to be honest, when I'm home, I just play online and just do my own thing. I'm in my own wee bubble. I go for a game of snooker and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, at this moment in time, I'm saying during lockdown, the snooker halls have been closed. So that stopped me from doing that. But in general, I'm kind of happy being home.
I mean, primarily knowing yourself and the company you keep with the Scottish players and like Bryn and that, you're away from Scotland quite a lot of the time. So, I mean, have you taken this chance to see family and friends, or just do your own thing and sit in the house and get online?
Well, no, it's been good to spend a lot more time with close family, like my brother and my dad and my 2 sisters. But I'm saying, like, I had been doing that when I've been coming back home, but it's good to do it for a longer period of time.
Right. Everybody reacts differently. I mean, it's something I never thought I'd experience in my time, excuse me, over the last 8-9 years being away for the majority of the year with work, and then you can't do anything. You're stuck in the house, you're stuck behind a laptop or that for about 4 or 5 months, and it can be soul destroying, eh? So it's new for us all, and the sooner it gets changed, the better, I think.
Oh, for sure. I'm saying, like, my guess was everything would be back to normal by March. Hopefully I'm right. I'm saying, like, I think when Christmas hits, it's just going to be as bad. Then I'm going to give it maybe 2 or 3 months for it to clear up, and hopefully everything will be good to go by March.
What's your, when you say everything will be good to go, how do you mean everything will be good to go? Do you mean like tournaments and stuff, or cash, or?
I think just the way of living life. I think a lot of people are being dead negative and saying, like, things won't be the same. I think that to a certain degree of, like, wearing masks a lot more than you ever wear them, obviously. But in general terms of getting back to normal, like normality, I'm saying, like, I think I give it March and everything should be back to normal. I'm saying, like, not, like, obviously with the mask situation, there'll be a lot more, like, I don't know, personal hygiene and making sure, like, you clean your hands and all that kind of stuff. And, like, maybe not as much, like, contact as usual, and, like, people will keep their distance and still have that in the back of their mind. But I think I'd give it March and it should be good.
Yeah, I mean, the people I've spoke to, my mum as well, class in that, getting told that you have to wash your hands, it's insane. It's like, do you know already wash your hands when you're at the toilet? And I mean, you'll know yourself, with being a poker player, you've probably seen shit tons of people coming out that toilet. It's like, Jesus Christ. And nowadays it's like, oh, thank fuck, they're telling people to do it. That's
the thing. I'm saying, like, it's like anything in life. I'm saying it doesn't matter how good you keep yourself up to scratch. If somebody else isn't, and you're obviously, if you're playing poker, I'm saying the germs are going to get spread. So everyone has to do their due. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a different world for us all. It's a bit of an eye opener, and hopefully we get to your. You say March. I hope March. I unfortunately think it'll be a lot longer. Because I don't know what to believe. You don't know who to believe, but you just got to roll with the punches, mate. You know what I mean? And be grateful, because there's a lot of people in a worse fucking position than any of us, eh? So
yeah, for sure. I'm saying, like, the main thing is, I'm saying, like, you've got to just keep positive, and it's not only yourself, it's not only myself, it's everyone that's in the same boat. So
that's it.
You've got to just have a strong mental attitude, and you'll get through it, no bother.
Cool. Anyway, we'll crack on with this, Ludo, sir. You were born in 1987, one of the 80s babies, in Rutherglen, to mother and father Margarita and Norman, or as you call them, Storm and Norman. Grew up with 4 sisters and 3 brothers. For those that don't know Rutherglen, just outside Glasgow, eh?
It's kind of in Glasgow, I would say, but I'm saying like it kind of is going out of the way. But I'm saying like I still, in my mind, it's in Glasgow. It's like a 10-minute drive up to Rutherglen, so it's in Glasgow. Yeah.
So what was it like growing up for an early age for you? What can you remember? Was it like a rough area?
Well, I didn't grow up in Rutherglen. I was born in Rutherglen. I'm saying like, and then I grew up in Deacon's Bank at the very, very start. Then we moved to a wee place called Govan Hill.
All right.
And Govan Hill was okay when I was growing up, but it was a hard place, if you know what I mean. There was a lot of gangs and stuff like that. There was a lot of night violence, a lot of troublemakers. But I kind of just got on with it. I'm saying like I never held myself back from doing anything. I never
kept yourself.
I kept some eyes on the back of my head. Obviously, being clued up, being streetwise or whatever, but I never got into trouble. I never got involved. They never involved themselves with me, which was quite fortunate. I'm saying like they stayed away from my neck of the woods.
Aye, so Govan Hill, a lot of people know it associated with like Rangers, Ibrox, where that's your team. A lot of people know that already. Good lad. So growing up in that area, was it a hard struggle, or just got on with it? You became a paper boy in that, or did you find it, you know?
A good question. I'm saying like I think we were kind of in the middle. My dad was always like fine money wise, but at the same time, he always made me and my brother earn every penny we got when we were young. He never gave us anything for free. He never spoiled us. He probably spoiled us for a couple of years. I'm saying like, and then let us like he tried to get us to become men as quickly as possible. When I mean that, I'm saying like if I was to raise a kid, I'm saying like I would do it the same way as my dad did.
So basically, respect money and respect others, and work hard for it.
Well, that was his philosophy. Obviously, when it comes to respecting money, I don't think I didn't take that on board. I'm saying to a certain degree because I don't know, like maybe it was because of my upbringing, and it wasn't as if we needed much to get by. I don't personally need much to get by.
Yeah, as you said earlier on, you live in your own sort of bubble. Easy Ozy, take it as you see it, and that. Growing up, became a paper boy at the early age. Now, not just your normal paper boy that a lot of world people know, like delivering papers through the door. You also done the early editions at midnight for the local news. Was it Daily Record or the Glasgow Times or stuff like that?
Well, the first one I done was a normal paper round where you go to doors, door to door, posting through the door. And it was the Glaswegian for Glasgow, in the south side of Glasgow. So I just posted them through people's doors. Very cheap. Like I was getting like £4 a round, and it would maybe take me like 2 hours to do the round every day. So I was on like £2 an hour. Obviously not much money. Then a few years later, I started doing the actual papers that you buy in the shops. And at the time when I was doing the papers, they were 28 pence each. So like I would go into pubs and sell the next day's paper, and it would be the early edition, but they were 28 pence each. So I was only making like 3 pence a paper. So it wasn't about the 3 pence a paper I was making, because I would need to sell 100 papers to make £3. You're never going to get far. I'm saying like it was about the fact that when you sold a paper to somebody and they bought a paper off you, and it wasn't 28 pence, they would give you a quid and say keep the change. So I was making 75p a paper. So if I sell 100 papers, I was making 75 quid in a night. And 75 quid when you're 14 is a lot of money if it's only taking you 2 or 3 hours.
A lot of money nowadays, Ludo.
Yep. So I made a good living doing that for a while. I'm saying like I done that for about 2 or 3 years, and I built up some good money from the age of 14, like a couple of grand, by doing something that I enjoy doing. Socialising at the same time, selling the papers.
And it's not, I suppose, getting yourself in the shop window so that everybody knows you're the paper guy and they'll always come to you. And as you say, if you're getting a quid a paper, 75p profit, or earning, whatever you want to put it, massive, especially back then. So you done that, then you worked in a shop selling pogs and stuff like that, you said?
I was helping my friend in a shop, and every time he went to the cash and carry, every now and again I would pop to the cash and carry with him, and I would look to see what the kids would want in school. And he wouldn't be really interested in that. A shopkeeper wants to obviously stock up in his booze and his cigarettes and make sure you get your bread and your milk in, your daily essentials. Obviously, I looked at what was in at the
Mm-hmm.
time with the school, and if it was Pokemon stuff, it was Pogs or something, I would buy that, put it at the front of the counter. I would pay 25 quid for the box and then sell everything, the contents of the box for like 50 quid and make myself a wee 25 quid profit.
Nice. So, I mean, you kind of use initiative at an early age. I mean, even nowadays, people that know you know the kind of person you are. You weren't afraid to get your hands dirty as it was. Big love of your life, snooker. You used to work in, is it Victoria Road snooker halls? Cleaning the
Victoria
tables?
Road Snooker Club. It was the oldest snooker club in Scotland, I think. Before it's gone now.
Uh-huh.
I think it was open for 119 years.
Nice.
And it was O'Reilly's when I was working in it, and then they liquidated it. A lot of the O'Reilly's snooker halls got liquidated, and that was one of them to fall. And what a time I had in there. I used to brush the tables and iron the tables, and I would get paid for 48 quid a week and get free time, which was kind of unheard of. I'm saying, like, but the manageress and the manager as well, Ronnie Cooper, they were always good to me. I'm saying they gave me free time, and she gave me free time, and they basically, like, they give you food and drink and let you try and make your way to become a professional snooker player. They give you every platform to actually make it. But I just wasn't good enough to make it. But I still loved the game.
Yeah. I mean, I know when we go away and we see you on the tours, you like playing pool and stuff like that with a few of the boys. This story obviously springboards into the poker career, but what was it that got you into like snooker and that in the first place? Was there anything that you seen or just thought it's a job sort of thing? Or
into the snooker? I'm saying
why did you go and get that job? Basically, was it just because it paid money, or
no? I was playing. Well, I first played pool when I was about 8 years old. I used to go to the pub with my dad, and back then, even at like 10 p.m, you were allowed to run about the pub. As an 8-year-old, I'm saying, like, so you were just being crazy. You were running behind the bar, going down to the cellar. Just like back then, everyone was smoking cigarettes. It was different. It was totally different, obviously. And obviously, I played a bit of pool when I was about 8 years old. And all of a sudden, when I was about 11, 12 years old, I would probably say my best friend at the time, who was a few years older than me, he was going to the snooker club all the time. So he was the one that kind of got me into it. Then I loved it. The minute I held a snooker cue and it was a bigger table and it was more of a challenge, I thrived on it because it's the mathematics of the game. Everything's angles, everything's numbers. I'm saying, like, you've got to hit it a certain weight, you've got to feel the cue, you've got to touch the cue ball. Everything becomes so precise. It's an art. Snooker's just, like, in my opinion, snooker's still the toughest game. I don't want to call it a sport, but I'm saying I think it is a sport, but it's more of a mind sport. Yes. But I'm saying, like, it's like darts. People don't want to call darts a sport, but darts is more of a psychological mind game. I'm saying, like, snooker's the exact same way that I think of it. I'm saying, like, and that's why it always attracted me, because it's just an art towards it and a mathematical edge towards it with the angles and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, you said about darts as well. A lot of people discredit darts. I think some of the darts players, like, check out 119 and boom, they'll know about 18 combinations. Same as kind of snooker as well. You've got to know how much your opponent's got. Snooker's required, stuff like that, as you say about angles and stuff. It's
just good for the brain. It keeps your brain active. It's like playing Sudoku or something that I'm saying, like, or playing chess or whatever. I'm saying, like, it just keeps the brain active when you're having to think a certain amount of moves ahead.
What's your highest? What's that, buddy? Sorry.
I'm saying you've got to make sure you're always on the ball. I'm saying you've got to be sharp. I'm saying, as you were saying about the darts players, when they've got like 119 to check out, they've obviously become so mechanically, like, it's so easy for them because they've done it over and over and over again. But at the same time, it's not as if, like, if we step up to the darts board and we go for the 119, we're having to think about it, which means it slows down our procedure. Whereas if they're going for 119, they know what to hit, which means everything's smooth because they're still in the groove. So they go that everything's just nice and smooth.
Yeah, if they miss that, they have to do this. Yeah. So, as you said, it keeps the brain ticking over. What's your highest break?
In competitive play, my highest break's only 98. I never made a century, which I was always annoyed with. In practice myself, I've made 145, 146.
Nice.
But that's by yourself. There's no
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, of course, the different circumstances. Now, we spoke a bit in depth about the snooker and the pool and that, because that's how you kind of came across poker, with Denison Poker and all those poker rooms and stuff. What attracted you to the poker?
I was playing snooker, and in the snooker club back then, obviously you're smoking and there's poker involved, and people were in wee bits of the corners and wee bits like mainly in corners where you can hardly see the cards. That's just the way it was, and there's smoke everywhere. And the manager, Ronnie Cooper, he loved playing, and he was always playing with his friends if the club wasn't that busy.
Yeah.
Like during the day, it wouldn't be that busy on a Monday or a Tuesday. He would have a wee game of Kaluki or a wee game of 3-card brag or 5-card stud or something, like anything at all. And I would always ask him questions, and because I was only 14 or 15 years old, he would never answer me. But I kept at him. I must have kept at him for about 6 months, and he eventually gave up. And the first thing he told me was he tried to teach me what the button was for. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand the concept. Why does this button have to keep moving around? I was only 14. I was like, why does it have to keep moving? And I understand it has to move, obviously. Small blind, big blind. You know what I mean?
And that's how you got into it. Started playing at an early age as well, if you picked it up. You played in little local games, I say, we said with Denison Poker and stuff like that. And this kind of springboards you into your next job as a dealer, the Wabash.
I think I dealt in the Wabash first. I was 15 years old, maybe 16 years old, and I went down and I started playing £5 rebuys. And it was self-deal. And nobody ever wanted to go in and deal the cards. And I was always like the one that had to, like, there would be women playing and all that kind of stuff, and nobody was a gentleman about it. So they would do a high card to see who would have to go in and deal. And if the lady got it, I would always volunteer to go in. I wouldn't want her or whatever, like, going in to deal if they were uncomfortable doing it. And same with older kind of frail gentlemen as well. If they got high carded to go in to deal, I would always step up and say, I'll go in and deal. And because I always done that, obviously I got more practice in and I got good at it. So over time, I think the guy that ran the club, he noticed that I was always dealing and he'd seen that I was good at it. So he offered me a job. So I started dealing and playing at the same time. And eventually, when I went on a wee run of actually winning at poker at the same time as earning money dealing, my money just kept building up. So I had a big enough bankroll to now give it a good go. And I started playing online. By the time I was like 17, maybe, I was maybe still 16, I was playing online. And back then, same situation. You didn't need to, like, everything was so easy. It was old days. You didn't need to send in proof of photographic ID or whatever. You would just sign up with William Hill's and you would put in a false, obviously a false date of birth. And next minute, you know you're playing. And the thing about it was, if you won money, you would withdraw on a thing called Quick Cash. And it would give you a long serial number. And you would go into the bookmakers and give them this big, ginormous number. And the most you could withdraw per day was £5,000. And the guy, you would tell the guy you're withdrawing £5,000, and you would give him this big number. And I was only 16 or 17. He never asked me for ID because I must have looked 18, even though I don't think I did. But he never asked me for ID. I gave him this big long serial number. He would tell you to come back in maybe 45 minutes, 1 hour time. He would go to the bank, collect the money, come back, and the £5,000 would be there for you. And you just give them a wee 60 quid off the £5,000, and then the next time you go in, no more questions asked.
So you had it made from an early age. When you started out on the online poker, was CryptoLogic, iPoker, sort of the Hills thing?
Yeah, when I first played in William Hill's, it was CryptoLogic, and that's a very old. That was the first one I remember from William Hill. I think that was the very first, like, software or whatever they were using, or the company was called CryptoLogic, and that was the bread and butter. That was where I made all my money at the start, and I knew PokerStars was there, and I knew people that were playing on PokerStars, and I knew people that were playing on Party Poker. I knew all this was there already, but at the same time, I was making such a comfortable living just playing on William Hill CryptoLogic. It was honestly, I was making like £500 a day. which is a lot of money. I'm saying
A
like
lot of money,
it was.
of course.
I'm saying like it was. I was literally making like £500 a day. So I said to myself, why should I move over to another site like Party Poker or Poker Stars or Full Tilt that have like 10 times the amount of players on their networks when I can just have my bread and butter here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've bypassed the sort of the schooling and the education thing, and that's no disrespect to yourself, but do you think because you're the early age of your dad making you respect money and earn money, and because you basically worked since as long as you can remember, do you think that was a massive thing for you, kind of wanting to go and study and learn as opposed to earn?
From a young age, I always said to myself, in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
Like, I knew I had the talent to maybe like, the cleverness, I don't know, like, how could you put it? I'm saying like, I knew I was sharp enough to stick at school and go to university and all that kind of stuff. But I actually gave up with school when I was about 13, 14, because I actually thought to myself, it's nonsense. Because like the amount of time you've got to dedicate your life to actually like becoming something good, a decent profession. Once you leave school and you go to university, if you want to become a doctor, you've got to sacrifice like 4 or 5 years or whatever. I'm saying, or I did think to myself, I wanted to become a lawyer. Same situation. It's a lot of sacrifice. And I'm saying, even when you do sacrifice that amount, that doesn't mean you're going to just be able to walk into a job.
100%.
So I said to myself, I'm going to use my head to make money rather than like go out there and sweat my tits off to make money. I'm saying like, whether that be actually like going to university for 3 or 4 years or whatever, or getting a job as a mechanic. I'm saying like, or whatever. I'm saying it kind of, I didn't want to use my hands. I didn't want to be like a labourer. I didn't want to, I just wanted to say to myself, okay, I can use my mind here to make money. And that's when, obviously, when I fell in love with poker from the age of like 16 years old, 15 years old, I knew this was the game for me right away, because it was going to be a game that it's a hard way to make an easy living.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, I'm saying like, because there's no like, there's a lot of stress involved, but there's no like real physical hard work. You don't need to use your hands and you don't need to graft.
It keeps you on your toes up here as well.
You just need to keep your mind sharp, and just, if you can get there, I'm saying like with your mind, without actually, poker's like, it's fascinating. I'm saying there's a lot of hard work needed to be done to get to the top, but at the same time, it's so easy, and it's easy accessibility for your life. I'm saying like, you can just work your life around it, and as long as you don't attach yourself to poker, which I did do for about 10 years of my life, and don't have a balance with poker, then I'm saying like, the minute you can't find a balance with actually like enjoying life and then just having poker actually run your life, that's when you've got a problem. I'm saying like, and I figured that out probably about 5 years ago, when I said to myself, listen, I'm not going to let poker dictate everything that I do. And I figured that out about, I would say, 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. Because when you started out with the online stuff, because it was online before it was properly live, you used to grind, as it were, with Colin Gillian, Colshay, and David Campbell, to the Glasgow's finest.
David Campbell. That's kind of going back to the old Wabash days. There was two clubs. There was a club called the Wabash Club in Glasgow. It was a private members club, and there was another club called the Cincinnati Club. And at the time, Cincinnati Club, when they first kind of started, they got David Colclough on board.
Yes.
And he was a monster name in UK poker. I'm saying he still is a monster name in UK poker. Everyone knows David Colclough. But at that time, it was amazing, the fact that they could get David Colclough on board.
Yeah.
In Glasgow, because Glasgow hadn't been renowned for holding poker tournaments for a long, long time. I'm saying like they held poker tournaments in the 90s and all that kind of stuff, and all the big players came up to play at the Riverboat.
Yes.
But these games were not big. I'm saying like, they were the biggest games in the UK, unfortunately, but they were still pretty small buy-ins. And then for David Colclough to get involved with Cincinnati Club was pretty extraordinary. And then I was kind of working in between the Cincinnati Club and the Wabash Club, and so was Colin Gillen. And then the wee circle started happening when we all got to know David Campbell, Paul McTaggart, and then we got to meet Tam McQueenie over at the Wabash, and John Wilmot and Chris Martin. So like, the Scottish community did have it had a lot of good players at one point. Unfortunately for Scottish poker, it's not on the map anymore, full stop. I'm saying, like, there's not enough money in Glasgow and Edinburgh to hold big tournaments, unfortunately.
No, I spoke to Fraser McIntyre about this. Scotland's had massive tournaments. They've had the UKIPT, the GUKPTs, Gent and stuff. But primarily, some of these tours have struggled, not because they're not big enough, but because they keep on overlaying. And as much as people may think, oh, free money overlay is brilliant, it's not. It's not. I mean, you'll know yourself, Ludo.
I think what happens there with the overlay situation is, I'm saying, like, as you say, people do say free money, whoop, whoop. But then you've got the people that weren't going to play it in the first place because they can't afford to play it, but all of a sudden they're going to play it because it's going to overlay.
Yes. So
now they're going to most likely throw their case money at it. And obviously the majority of the time they're not going to get a return. Because let's say a tournament needs 100 players and there's only 60 players in the tournament and it still needs 40, or else it's going to overlay by 40%. You're going to get 20 people throwing in their case money.
Yeah.
Only 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them are going to make the money. So like 16 of them are going to go bust.
Yeah, of course. But it's just like, I mean, if you're a businessman or woman and you're guaranteeing 100 grand, 500 grand, as in what Star's done with UKIPTs and stuff, and you keep on having to put money in, you're not going to come back, or you're going to reduce it, and then it's not going to be as lucrative for a lot of people. And I mean, you're right in what you're saying. Scotland used to be, I mean, still, the players that Scotland's produced over the years are brilliant. And I'm not just being like, oh, Scotland. It has. I mean, we could rattle off umpteen names and still keep going. But it's not as great as what it used to be. You're right in what you're saying. There's not big tournaments on a regular basis.
There never really has been big tournaments in Scotland. But the reason why I said it at the start was, I'm saying, like, all the English players at the very start that I know of, I wasn't around, but what I've been told and what I can see on Hendon Mob is a lot of the English players like Barney Boatman and like the, what do you call them, like Ram Viswani and like the Hendon Mob, like the old Hendon Mob crew and even like other players like the Devilfish and all that kind of stuff. They all came up to Scotland and they played at the Riverboat because that's where like £200 games and like £500 games were held. And unfortunately, I'm saying, like, that was the big buy-ins. Obviously, the money has changed since, I'm saying, like, in 1994, 200 quid is now worth maybe, I don't know, 700 quid now. But even back then, 700 quid, it's just not a big tournament. I'm saying, like, it's pretty dumpster. I'm saying, like, and it annoys me, the fact that Scotland just, I don't know, I'm saying, like, maybe it's just not enough people, population-wise, play poker.
Yeah, it's lost a lot of its. I don't know. I know where you're coming from. It has lost a lot of its attraction. I think, as you're saying, there's not a lot of money in there. So
I think there's a way to do it, but I'm saying, like, for sure, I think there's still a market in the UK poker, or like a UK IPT. Why they got rid of that was beyond me. I'm saying, like, because it was the perfect buy-in. You can mix up the buy-in. You can make it 500. You can make it 1,000. Do what GUKPT do. Make it 500. Make it 1,000. Totally fine. I'm saying UKIPT had that market. I'm saying, like, strange that they threw it away, but they threw it away at the same time as they threw away the APTs. I mean, I'm saying, like, both of them went away at the same time. Then they understood the fact that they made such a big mistake and they brought back EPT. But I'm saying, like, at the same time, that was held in Edinburgh, UKIPT. I'm saying, like, that was a big thing to look forward to for Scottish players. And
the amount of players they got from the online satellites. You also had the who's who of poker used to come to these events. Like, all the big names used to come to them.
You had Chris Moneymaker popping into Edinburgh.
Came over,
Liv Buree.
Yep. All that's what I mean. All the who's who, and it was a mini EPT because it was the same structure they used. The buy-in was obviously like 10% of the 5k, and it was unreal. But we've just not went backwards. It's just, I think, as I said, I think the money's just went out of Scotland, and primarily the UK poker scene isn't as big as what it was. There's not a lot of...
Yeah, for sure it's not. But I'm saying, like, even then, we're going to go back to this situation with overlays and all that kind of stuff, and the money's not in the game anymore. at this moment in time, I've been having a look at all the stuff that's been running online, and I have a wee look at GUKPT, and they're overlaying at times a £200 buy-in, which is pretty ludicrous, and they've been dropping the guarantee. 888 Poker are struggling to make guarantees, and they've got multiple flights on, leading into like a day 2, feeding all these phases in, and they're not even hitting guarantees. GG Poker are struggling to make their guarantees. Poker Stars was overlaying left, right, and centre with the recent W Coup. And if that's happening in Poker Stars, it just shows you.
Yeah.
It's not looking good. I'm saying everyone thought this was like the second boom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the case. It was just the fact that everyone was stuck in the house and they were like bored. And obviously they're going to have money at the start to play with.
That's it.
But they didn't understand the fact that COVID was going to last for 7 or 8 months, and it's still lasting now. And the problem is, this is the big problem. I'm saying, like, poker is, unfortunately, to a certain degree an addictive hobby, and not everyone's good enough to make it at poker. That's just the way it goes.
I mean, for every big winner, you've got about 40 or 50 losers, at least.
Yeah.
It's a flip side to a lot of things which could be classed as gambling or games of skill or whatever. For every winner, you've always got a loser. So, yeah,
that's the thing I'm saying as well. Like, Party Poker are doing it right. They're just feeding in people left, right, and centre from the tiniest little buy-ins. Just now, they're running satellites for the Caribbean stuff online because obviously we can't hold it live. And it's like 1 cent is the first buy-in to lead up to like a $10,000 seat or a $5,000 seat.
Yeah, it's like the feeders
it's
and stuff
ludicrous,
like that.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm saying at least they're starting it now. They're starting it now, and this was leading into November. You know what I mean? So they've gave it plenty of time.
Yeah, I think, I mean, as you said, there is still a market there, massive market. You've just got to try and tinker a lot and then try and get the happy medium. Back to yourself, going back to your online stuff, obviously, as you said, we done with Cambo and Colshay and that. Your first ever big win, as it were, was the bigger 22 on Stars that you can remember, 14K. When you won that, what were you like, over the moon? Were you like, oh my God, I can do anything, I can crush this, that, and the next? Or were you still got your feet on the ground going forward?
Oh, well, I was playing in Cryptologic all the time on William House, and they didn't have a big tournament that much. Like, once a week, there was a tournament on a Sunday. It was £110 buy-in, and first prize was £10,000. So the most you could ever win in Cryptologic was £10,000. So when I eventually did move to Poker Stars, and I played the bigger 22, and I'd done a deal like 3-handed, and I got $14,000, that was a big win. Because I'm saying, like, you could only ever get that like once a week on Cryptologic. And all of a sudden I've moved on to Poker Stars, and every single tournament was a big tournament. Not because the buy-ins were bigger, because the fields were 10x.
Fields were massive,
Easily 10x. So I'm saying, like, it was a lot of hard work to obviously get to the last 3 to get the $14,000, but that was just another goal on my way in poker. Because my first goal was to get like a 4-figure score, get $1,000 or more, and then I hadn't had a 5-figure score yet. And then I got to Poker Stars. Well, I had a 5-figure score to a certain degree on William Hill, but it was in pounds. And if you converted it to dollars, it would have obviously been, what do you call it? $10,000. So I got $14,000 in Poker Stars, obviously, and I was over the moon,
so I mean, all these, like, the stars aligned and all that crap, and you moved on. You became the player you are today. You play all these massive buy-in tournaments. The biggest win I've got here was the WK PLO for $500,000. A wee story about that. You were in with Bryn, were you?
Bryn was backing me, and this is when I started playing some big buy-ins. And you know what Bryn's like. He doesn't hold back. He's lethal. So he puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders as well. So, like, he started backing me, and he's putting me in the $5,000 games that I was usually playing myself.
Just before you continue, Ludo, sorry, how did you meet Bryn? Just before we go into the depths of this.
I don't know.
How did you get to know him?
Well, through online. I'm saying, like, I was chatting to him online and I was selling action for EPTs.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I would play the 5,000 on my own. Sometimes I would sell action.
Yeah.
Just depending on the run-up to the EPT.
Uh-huh.
Just depended how I felt at the time, and it depended if I had won a few quid before I made my way to Barcelona.
Uh-huh.
And if I'd been on a downswing on the way to Barcelona, I would have to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But my bankroll management was never good, and it still isn't really good, because, like, I think you've just got to keep going until you hit that big one. And when you do hit that big one, you've got the jackpot for yourself.
Yes.
Most of the time, I'm saying. So it didn't really work out for me in my younger days.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I was messaging Bryn, and he wanted to buy all my action, and he was giving me good markup. So all of a sudden, Bryn was just taking all my action.
So that's how you kind of got to know Bryn.
Yeah. And then eventually I met him live. But he was buying all my action for the 5K games, the 10K games. I was playing the 10K high rollers and all that kind of stuff. He was like, I take all your action. So it was nice and simple. Didn't need to really... I was posting it online sometimes.
Uh-huh.
The problem with posting it online is that you get it in drips and drabs.
Yeah.
1%, 2%, 5%. Bryn was just like, I'll take all the 40%. So it just makes it easier for me.
Yeah.
So, like, eventually he was buying my action and I was doing well, and all of a sudden I met him at Nottingham. Uh-huh. And he ended up heads up with Patrick Leonard.
All right.
In a high roller event. So the main event was on, it was like a 3K WPT, I think. And the high roller was like a £6,000 high roller WPT. I think it was £6,000. And he beat Patrick Leonard heads up, and then he came over to the bar and they sat down and we had a drink. And he went and said, I just want to back you now, rather than buy all your action. And I was just like, kind of no sure about it. And I went, fuck it. And I said, fair enough, let's go. So he backed me, and it was just like 18 months of absolute, like, playing everything.
All the nosebleed stakes sort of thing, yeah?
All the nosebleeds. He must have put me in about $1 million of buy-ins in the space of a year or something. And I must have cashed for about 600,000. So I was in the hole for about 400,000. And in the next 6 months, he must have put me in another $500,000 worth of buy-ins. And I probably broke about level that next 6 months, but I was still minus 400,000. Then at the very end, I won the 21,000 W Coupe PLO.
That was a buy-in. 21k was a buy-in, yeah?
21k W Coupe PLO for just under $500,000. So I got out of the 400k hole, and obviously I was in profit. But it took me a long time, and I said to myself after that with Bryn, I didn't want to leave Bryn straight away. I think I left it a few months, and I said to Bryn, I don't want to do this, because I don't want to have that feeling of, like, being, like, caged for, like, 18 months, where, like, not, like, enslaved, but I'm like, it kind of feels that way because there's so much pressure on you, and it feels as if all you're ever thinking about doing is getting their money back, because you don't want to let them down, you don't want to let your reputation down.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it happens. You go on down swings. But I've always said to myself, I always want to make sure that I'm a winning player.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm saying, like, if anybody ever throws money at me,
you want to do your best.
To try and get a result for them, that means they fully are committed to me, first of all, and they fully believe that I'm good enough to win, because they're putting their own money on the line. So I never want to let anybody down. And at that time, I was very young and naive, and just getting kind of started with the backing situation. I always backed myself. I never sold action. I never knew the concept of it, obviously, because I was always on Cryptologic for such a large period of time. And that wasn't really, like, the pinnacle of poker. So, like, that was never there. I'm saying the mindset of my game was never evolving around the mindset of the elite players' games. Even if they weren't elite, they were still more elite to me, because they understood the grasp of the poker circle and the poker bubble a lot better than I did.
Yeah.
So, like, I was very naive, and then after all that, I said to Bryn, I'm leaving. I don't want to do this anymore. And I think when I won that tournament, I went on to win another 100,000 or maybe 150. So I managed to make more profit for myself and Bryn. So I was happy with that, and I managed to leave on a good note.
Yeah.
Not being in a minus, obviously.
Yeah.
So then I went on my own again for about maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half. And then I got backed again by a good friend of mine called Paul Corrigan. And he backed me at the start. Then Bryn backed me. Then I went back to Paul. And now I'm back with Bryn.
Do you think, I mean, you talk about the pressure. Now, the jump from what you were playing at before Bryn took over the buy-in or the sponsoring, whatever way you want to call it, you put the pressure on yourself because you wanted to be the winning player.
Well, the best way I can put this was, I remember I done an interview with Dara O'Kearney a few years ago, and it came up in the interview. The best way to put this was, Bryn was like not caring about money, as he always does. I'm saying, like, especially back then, I think he cares about money a lot more now, and he wants to use it in different ways to help situations. Not himself anymore. He doesn't want the materialistic things that you get in life anymore.
He wants people to be happy.
He wants to be happy in life or whatever, which is fantastic. He's found the meaning of his
his being.
So at the end of the day, I'm saying, like, the way I explained it to Dara was, Bryn was firing me into all these tournaments, thinking just play, but he didn't understand the fact that some of the tournaments were tough, and they were tough to me. They might not be tough to you, Bryn. Because Bryn played 100k buy-ins and all that kind of stuff. So if he's playing like a 10k, he's not going to think twice about it. But when I'm arriving at this 10,000 table, and all of a sudden I've got Stephen Chidwick, like Timothy Adams and all that kind of stuff at the table, obviously I'm not panicking at all. I don't really care. I just play my game. But at the same time, I'm going into it thinking to myself, I'm probably a losing player in the field, which is not smart from Bryn. But Bryn's putting me in just thinking that it's easy for him, so it should be easy for Ludo.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I'm not
100%.
saying I'm not saying that's what he was thinking. That's what I eventually did think. That Bryn was just thinking, if it's easy for me, it should be all right for him. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it does. That must be a testament to how good he thought you were as a player then.
Which is fantastic, but unfortunately, I don't think I built up that experience to get thrown into I got thrown into the deep end, I think, quite quickly,
yeah. And I mean, was he at the end of a phone or a text message? Like, did he teach you? Did he help you in any spots? Or?
Bryn never, and I don't resent that at all. Bryn never really sat me down and said this, that. We would maybe talk about one hand every so often, and he would just basically say, don't do that. And he wouldn't explain why you don't do that. He would say, don't do that. It was pretty strange. And then obviously, as I got better at the game, I understood why he said that to me. But he never explained it to me. It was pretty weird. Bryn never, even with his horses, even with people that I knew that he backed, every one of us said the same thing. He never really coached us. He never told us what to do. Like, obviously, especially not in amongst hands if we were playing all together. But I'm saying, like, even in general, he never ever went out his way and said, I'll give you a wee 1 hour tuition. Never ever done it. Never ever said, okay, I'll educate you and we'll talk for 1 hour about poker and we'll run hands through this or that. Never. He'd made you do it all yourself, which is good. I like it.
Yeah, because then, I mean, there's going to be times, for instance, he's not going to be there and you have to fend for yourself.
Correct. Yeah. But personally, in my opinion, well, poker's you can easily just share information online via text message and talk about a hand. But I'm saying, like, I like that because I'm the same. I don't think you can teach somebody how to play poker. No. I think you can tell them the basics. I'm saying, like, but you can't tell an individual what they shouldn't do, because I think I'm saying, like, there is theory to every situation and every solution, obviously. I'm saying, like, there is a way to do the hand and play the hand as well as you can. But also, I think you've got to play the hand differently depending on circumstance.
Of course, because if you get taught by, like, the way Bryn does or anybody does, then their mistakes and their pitfalls are going to be your mistakes and your pitfalls, because they're teaching you exactly how they would play.
It's like the most stupid thing I ever get from players is if somebody asks me for information on a player, and I hardly ever give information. Like, somebody will message me saying, oh, I've got thingy on my left here, and it's day 2. Have you got any reads on them? Have you got any information? I don't give the information anymore. because the information I'm giving him is towards him playing against me.
Yes.
So if I say, oh, he's pretty tight, that's because he's tight against me because I'm a loose cannon. I can't say to him, I can't say to somebody, well, he's tight. That's the information I've got. So if he goes this or if he does that, you shouldn't call him. You should fold or whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't. I'm saying like it's the most stupid thing ever. You can't
because,
ever. People message me all the time for information. I never ask anybody. No, I swear to God, you can ask anybody, Feraldo or anybody. I never ask anybody. Have you got any information on this guy? Is he tight? Is he loose? Is he aggressive? How does he overbluff? I never ask any of the questions because they're the most stupid questions ever. Because you can only get the answer for yourself.
Yes.
If they're doing that against me, that doesn't mean they're going to do it against you. So I could be giving you false information.
100%.
It makes me like, not my blood boil, but it makes me annoyed when people ask for that kind of detailed information. Makes no sense.
No, I 100% agree with you. People will play different against you than they will against Dino or Feraldo or Colsey or anybody for that matter, because you, as you say, you're a crazy player. The other person could be a tight player, so they adjust. Just like you'd adjust playing against anybody else as well.
People might still think I'm an absolute lunatic. Sometimes I still do play like a lunatic, but I'm saying like people might just go, he's an absolute lunatic. I'm just staying away from him. That doesn't mean if Feraldo asks me a question about an opponent, which he doesn't, I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah, an example.
That doesn't mean if he asks me a question about an opponent that guy's going to do the same against him that he would against me. The guy's only staying away from me because there's no point getting involved in the pot with me because I'm going to make him play for all his chips.
Yeah.
So he's folding and he's just going to wait for a good starting hand rather than 3-bet.
Yeah.
King, jack, offsuit. He's going to just keep it tight.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm just saying, for example.
No, it's 100%.
Whereas with Feraldo, all of a sudden the green light would go and he would do something different. You know what I mean? Because he could get Feraldo. Maybe Feraldo folds correctly and I don't fold correctly. Maybe I overcall too much so you can't run a bluff through me. But the bluff's going to work against Feraldo.
Yeah. I mean, you think you learnt a lot of that, like what you said about Bryn not telling you, not teaching you. But Bryn kind of saying, do yourself.
I think I learnt a lot of that from Bryn, but not him actually telling me.
Yeah.
Just through energy, actually. But just like eventually understanding, why the fuck doesn't he talk to me about poker? But I understand that concept now because Bryn isn't that much older than me. I'm saying like we're about the same age, I think. I'm saying like, but at the same time, Bryn has been hardcore poker. Like he's played a lot more hands than me. He was when he was like 23, 24, he was all in. Like I'm saying, like he was playing so many tables, he was playing so many hours. So the amount of work and the amount of studying, to be honest, without studying, just putting the hands in gets you the study. The amount of time and leverage and all that kind of stuff that he used and just went all in with the poker situation is a lot far superior to me. So that, by the time that he understood the fact that you shouldn't talk about poker when you're not playing poker, it took me a while to understand that because poker runs your life as it is. So why would you? It's like it's like finishing up in a bar and deciding to have a drink at your own bar.
Yeah,
you see that happen a lot, and it always makes me a bit confused. Why would I finish up working in a snooker hall or in a bar or in a gym and then hang about the gym? Doesn't make any sense to me.
You have to switch off. You have to be able to switch off all
go and do something else. Don't talk about poker when you're finished playing poker. What's the point of that? Play 100%. Poker, talk about poker. Once 100%. You're done with poker, don't talk about poker.
100%. It's like you're out on the old sauce and like, for instance, on a tour, and how would you play this hand? Fuck off.
Please, yeah. I remember being out in a few times with like Sam Trickett and being in his company or whatever, and the minute you talk about poker, he was always like, you have to do a shot. That's your punishment. Really? But I didn't. But when I was like quite a geeky, like poker kind of guy, always asking questions, I was that guy. So like, I didn't mind doing shots. I would ask Sam Trickett a few things, and he would say shots. You know what I mean? But I didn't mind doing them. But then you learn. I'm saying you mature, obviously, and you understand that you don't want to be talking about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but everybody starts out, everybody's a fish out of water as opposed to a fish at the table because they want to absorb it. They want to find out where they go wrong as opposed to just fucking getting wrong. And then they learn from it as yourself. You've educated yourself. You've learned from one of the best, if not the best around. And you've moved forward as a person, grown as a player. Into the live career now, Ludo. I've got here on the Hendon Mob as your first official cash 2007, London GKPT £200 event, final tabled. Then there was a massive jump on the Hendon Mob to 2013. And I think, in my opinion, this would probably be your first ever live career highlight, the Marbella UKIPT.
But I'm going to go back a bit there. You said the £200 game in London. Did I not come second in a £300 game after that? And
maybe,
Walsall?
but on the Hendon Mob, it's not there, unless I'm looking at something completely different.
Well, the highlight for me was back at the same time. I came second in a GUKPT side event.
Oh, okay.
It was a £300 double chance, and that was my very first big win live.
Ah, right.
And that was in 2008 or 2007.
Okay.
But again, it took me a while to start. It took me a long time to start playing bigger buy-ins.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of stuck playing online, and I was playing even online. I was playing on Cryptologic. The biggest buy-in was £110. So even in 2007, I would have been 19, 20 years old. And obviously in the UK, you can be 18 years old and go down and play in casinos and all that kind of stuff. So I should have been out the door right away when I was 18, but I wasn't. For some reason, I wasn't. And it was the same situation with the World Series. It took me a long time to get to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to Vegas until I was like 24, 25 years old, whereas I should have been in Vegas when I was 21.
Yes. Yeah, when you were old enough to. Do you think what did you put that down? Did you put that down to just being comfortable playing online, or not being socialising with money management? All right.
Bankroll management. I was very bad with bankroll management. One time I would have 20,000. One time I would have 50,000, 40,000. Then just go broke.
Okay. And did you play any satellites online for these events, or did you just concentrate on tournaments?
I remember in Cryptologic, I played a satellite for a game in St Kitts. And I won 3 packages for it. And I was 18 at the time. And for some reason, I was sure you could go to St Kitts when you were 18. And then all of a sudden, I think you had to be 21.
Ah, okay.
So I had to sell these 3 packages and take a loss. But obviously still win because I won 3 packages.
Yeah.
But I took a loss in each individual package. But I managed to shift them all. But I was 18 and I thought to myself, I'm going to St Kitts. But and Madge went, you know Madge?
Yes. Yeah.
Madge went. I was supposed to go with Madge, and Madge went with Paul Gupta.
Oh, Black Flash. Paul
Black
Gupta.
Flash.
Black Flash.
Black Flash. He went with Black Flash, and I was supposed to go and I never went. Because I'm pretty sure it was 21. You had to be 21.
Brilliant. So, obviously, so now you've had the two events. I'll have to have a look at that, or get on at the Hendon Mob. We fast forward to 2013, United Kingdom and Ireland Poker Tour in Marbella. You came first for 130 grand. I remember as if it was yesterday all the text messages I was getting from your reel. What can you remember at this event?
I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was in Edinburgh a few weeks prior to this. It's on my Hendon Mob as well, and I won a Summer Sizzler. Can you see it on my Hendon Mob?
Let's have a look.
So just prior to 2013 Marbella, I was in Edinburgh and I won a tournament for like £5,000 or £6,000. It was like a Summer Sizzler, like a 25-25 series kind of thing.
Ah, okay.
And that was what got me to Marbella.
Yes, Summer Sizzler for just under £6 grand, 5,750 quid.
Yeah. So what was the dates between them?
The 25th of May. The 25th of May to the June. It was a month, less than a month.
Yeah, less than a month. So that's what got me to Marbella. The minute I won that event, I said I'm going to Marbella. At the time when I went to Marbella, Paul Corrigan was backing me. And it was just a short kind of backing spell that we had. I had never been back before, and then all of a sudden I went to Marbella, and I won the tournament in Marbella, and that was just mental because it was €130,000.
130k euro up top, yes.
And I remember I came back with all the money in cash.
My man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I've seen pictures of the rail. I said, I've got messages from years ago with it was the Scottish boys. It was all the Scottish boys who went over. What was it like? I mean, it's a long time ago. You probably remember a lot better than a lot. What was the real like and all that? Was it a massive positive having these guys there?
Oh, for sure it was. I'm saying, like, I was losing my way at times at the final table, if I recall, when there was like 6 or 7 left.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a monstrous chip lead the whole way, but I started losing some pots, and if it wasn't for the rail being there, I think I would have maybe started to unsettle.
Uh-huh.
And then when I got the heads up lasted about 3 hours. It lasted ages, honestly, maybe 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted the trophy so bad. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to win a tournament with 1,000 players.
Uh-huh.
And it was €1,000 buy-in, because it was such a big buy-in. It was the biggest buy-in I'd ever played. I'm saying, like, I'd been playing obviously £1,000 games and €1,000 games, but you know what I mean? It was the joint biggest buy-in I'd played. And to be honest, the last 10 £1,000 games or €1,000 games before that, I'd never even sniffed the money.
Uh-huh.
Not even anywhere near getting the cash. So I said to myself, first of all, I want to win this tournament for the trophy. And I knew if I won this tournament, it was just going to make my career a lot easier.
A lot easier to go with. Now, as far as I'm aware, I think it was still the same. These were like 4 or 5 day events, right?
That was a 4-day event, yeah.
How did you cope with that? Like, were you used to playing long days online, obviously, but how did you cope with it? Was it mentally tortured or?
It was mental. I'm saying, like, I think I made a few day 2s. I never made a day 3 in my life.
Uh-huh.
So when I was in day 4, I was like, but to be honest, when we were in Marbella, the problem was, it was a good thing and a bad thing, but there was a lot of Scottish folk there.
Uh-huh.
Like, as you were talking about my rail, like, I had a lot of friends there that didn't know me from Adam. Sorry, not my friends, but I'm saying everybody in the poker world in that room didn't know me from Adam. Obviously, I'm saying, like, that's what made my name, is winning EPT Marbella. UKIPT Marbella. That's what made my name. I'm saying, like, everyone started to realise this guy's mental, because I was playing crazy.
Yeah.
And the problem, I was going back on there, I had a lot of good friends there, Scottish guys, and the rail was fantastic. Yeah. But everyone was drinking every single night. So there was no point me going back to my bed to try and get some sleep.
Okay.
So I just joined in. So I was drinking most nights as well. Uh-huh. So I was sometimes waking up for day 2 or day 3 with a slight hangover. But then when I bagged up on day 3, I only had a few beers.
Okay.
I still couldn't get any sleep. So by the time day 4 arrived, I hardly had any sleep. And to be honest, I still had a hangover from day 2. And I remember getting an interview from Nick that worked with UKIPT at the time, and Liv Bree. She worked with UKIPT at the time. And I remember getting an interview from him, and I basically said in the interview, I've not been sleeping, I've just been drinking every night. And I basically had been. Uh-huh. I just hadn't been going over the top with the shots. I'd been drinking a lot of beer.
Do you think if things were different and you had been getting sleep, you might not have won it?
I think I'm a great believer in keeping like some sort of sacred kind of path.
Yes, like superstitions and stuff.
Yeah, I'm about superstitious in that sense. I like to do the same thing on a daily basis. If things are going well, why change it? So I done the same when I went to EPT London.
Yeah, I was going to say that was next. Yeah, the same year, not that long after it.
Yeah, so I did do the same thing. I woke up at the same time. I went to breakfast. I ate the same thing, even though I can't eat much when I'm playing. As I'm progressing through the days, like day 2, day 3, day 4, I lose my appetite and the adrenaline kicks in. But I was still doing the same thing. I was having a banana or an apple and a cup of coffee. And then I was still doing the same routine. I would go to the same place outside to have some fresh air. If I was going to the toilet, I would go to the same toilet.
Yeah.
Just like weird...
No, superstitions. Of course, everybody's...
I don't know, it's like a simulation. So I've always had that simulation theory. And if you just keep following the same thing, then maybe you won't break the cycle, if that makes any sense.
No, 100% it makes sense, mate. I can be a bit like that myself. Like if I've got, for instance, I got a bet on American football and I'm watching it on my phone. If things are going shit when my phone's charging, I'll take the cable out. And then obviously it's going to happen anyway. They start scoring a touchdown. I'm like, fucking yes, the phone's not going to get charged for fucking 4 years. Stuff like that. It sounds stupid to some people, but like you said, you go to cubicle 2 instead of cubicle 3. You start winning hands. So when you're next on your break, you go back to the same cubicle.
If I go to the cubicle and somebody's in the cubicle, I don't wait for the cubicle if there's another one empty. I'm not that bad. I mean, I'm not that bad, but if it's there, I'm like snaffling it up right away.
Yeah, so you spoke about EPT London. You came fourth for £193,000.
Yeah, this was disappointing, this one, Ross. I should have won this one.
Yeah, I remember I was on holiday in Mallorca at the time, and I watched this live on my phone. What a final table. Some legends of the games: Martin Kozlov, Cully Sadu, Jan Savic, Leo McLean, Robin Yantalo, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm terrible with these names.
Yeah, Robin Yantalo.
The highlights, and they still refer to it on PokerStars TV, are you pulling off some absolutely nosebleed bluffs.
I just went for it, Ross, honestly.
Yes.
I just decided I'm just going to go for it, all guns blazing, zero fucks. And everyone, to be honest, for such a long period of time during the whole EPT, they played shit-scared poker. Mm-hmm. Everyone just was thinking too much. They were playing scared money.
Yeah.
As the more I seen that, the more I just started just ramping it up and just going mental.
Yeah, but
everyone played me so bad. They would raise me back. They wouldn't just let me hang myself.
Yeah.
That 2013 was obviously, if you could go back to 2013 now, it would be the nuts. You'd be a millionaire within a month. I'm saying, like, everyone didn't let me hang myself. All they needed to do was just let me hang myself, and nobody ever allowed me to do so. Basically, everyone was, not until we get down to like the last couple of tables, but like I'm talking about when it was like 80 players left. Nobody let me hang myself. Everyone just kept raising me back, and I would just my cards.
Yeah, because it was like turning their hand face up.
Because nobody would ever raise me back unless they had it. They were too scared because they thought I would just come over the top of them again. So everyone always had it. So I would just like piling pressure on until somebody played back at me.
And then you just folded.
And then I just folded.
Yeah. Do you think winning the UK EPT Marbella put you in good stead, not financially, mentally, for EPT London?
Yeah, I think it did. At the same time as I don't really care about money, I'm saying like it's not going to affect my judgment. Mm-hmm. It's not going to change me, as in my mentality. But at the same time, obviously, it gave me the confidence just to say to myself, even more, zero fucks given.
Yeah, because you knew how to deal with 5-6 day tournaments, grinds and stuff like that, as opposed to some others who might not have been in that position before. There's a hand, as I said, PokerStars TV keeps on flashing up. The 6-3 off bluff against Leo McLean and Jan Savic. Did you play that hand because you knew how these players played, or did you play that hand because you just had this persona of being an absolute maniac who had it all the time?
This is going to sound really stupid here, right?
Oh.
But I'm saying, like, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but during the process of this tournament, EPT London, on the feature table, there was a stage where everyone was overfolding. Mm-hmm. They were folding way too much. So I just started playing blind. So I would lift my cards up to look, but I didn't really look.
Yeah. So people thought
I would look like I was looking, but what I was doing is I was holding my cards up. So if I did look at the cards, I could see them, but I was looking somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I would just look like I would cover them. I would maybe sometimes cover them with a thumb or something. At the end of the day, sometimes I wasn't like, I went through a stage of like, I think I raised every hand for about, I don't know, 20 hands. And I think it was like 14 I just won with no flop. Nobody called. And it was like 14 hands in a row, pre-flop. It was insane. Yeah. And then I think in this hand, when I opened to 6-3, I didn't look at the hand. And then I just bet and and they both folded. And then I looked back at my hand and it was 6-3. I'm pretty sure of it. There was a hand as well one time where I opened and I had queens, but I didn't know I had queens. And it came 7, deuce, queen, rainbow. and both of them checked and I bet, and both of them folded, and I looked back at my hand and I had 3 queens. And I said to myself, after that hand, I said to myself, I better start looking. Because if I get 3 queens, like if I get pocket queens and it comes queen high dry, obviously I shouldn't be betting. Yeah. How am I going to get called?
Yeah.
So I said to myself after that, I better start looking. But I felt it was more fun in the sense that I couldn't give any tells away because I didn't know what I had. You know what I mean? So I couldn't. So I didn't really look like I was nervous because I could have the nuts. I could have a big hand, or else I could be sitting with 6-3 on King Jack 10.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. 10 King, 10 Ace, and they both folded. Now, you say that was a regret. You should have won it. What happened?
I think I just started. I didn't adapt, and a few players started noticing that I was being too aggressive, and they started letting me hang myself. The clever players like Robin Ulatalo. Robin Ulatalo, in my personal opinion, at the final table. At the time, Jeff Rossiter was at the final, I'm pretty sure. And he was quite a big name, but he didn't have any flair. He didn't have any creativity. And I didn't think he was that good a player, what everybody was making out him to be, to be honest. But he was still far superior than me. Like, theoretically, I'm saying, like, or whatever, like actually having a brain and playing poker. But it was more obviously theoretically correct than me. But at the same time, I think Robin Ulatalo was the best player at the table, and I think he did deserve to win the tournament. But the annoying thing about it is, even to this day, people come up to me and they always say, "Well played in APT London." They always think I won the tournament. I came fourth. I came fourth, but everyone thinks I won that tournament.
Because of the highlights, because from what I've seen, the media coverage is all about you steamrolling. But as you said, you in a way, without sounding disrespectful, you kind of steamrolled yourself.
Yeah, I did eventually at the end. People started, well, it wasn't that. The cream rised to the top, basically. And obviously the likes of Robin Ulatalo and maybe even Jeff Rossiter in certain hands against me, they did catch me out and let me keep pushing the boat out. So I lost chips that I shouldn't have lost. If I had a bit more, like, if I adapted and it was a bit more clued up and a bit more experience, I would have learnt from it.
So you feel there, if you kind of not knew how to fold, but take your foot off the pedal a little bit more, as opposed to what you said Robin done. Robin, you said he was the best player at the table. You felt that he could still steamroll the table, but sit back and let you and Leo fight out for third and fourth. Whereas you, if the shoe was on the other foot, you just wanted to attack.
To be honest, when it was like four-handed, it turned into bingo.
Okay.
It was very much like, I can't remember what the average stack was. It was like 25 bigs. It did turn into bingo, and for like a lot of money, it was like £500,000 or £600,000 up top. I'm saying, like, it turned into sheer bingo, and Leo got very lucky to get third. I remember I don't know what happened. I think I lost a fucking big hand against him with King Queen against his pocket twos. It came like Jack 10, and pocket twos held up. So like, it was mental. Like, just I started losing a few flips, and then that's why I ended up out fourth. I think the final hand I bluffed or something. I don't know. My final hand wasn't the best, but I think I ran pretty bad at times.
And
when it mattered, I'm saying I think I ran bad.
Yeah.
Prior to the final table, I ran well.
Yeah. Did you have people around you, whether it be Paul, who you said was backing you, or mates like Fett and stuff like that? Did you have people around you that you could go to and say, "Fucking hell, man, I just need to vent. We need to talk," or people who could kind of calm you down? Or
Tom Hall was my man.
Tom
Jabracada.
Yeah.
He was, at that time, I'd got to know Jabra quite well because we'd been playing all the UK IPT circuit events, Edinburgh and Manchester and London and Dublin. So I got to know Jabra quite well, and we'd played online for a while now. So he was the one that was kind of in my corner.
Okay.
Because there wasn't anybody there until the final table. Everyone from Scotland were either away back home, or else they weren't there in the first place.
Okay.
I was sharing a room with Robbie Bull.
Oh, I know Robbie. DJ then. Yeah.
Robbie Bull won the UK IPT
Uh-huh.
at the same time as our final table DPT London.
Yeah.
So I was in a room with him, and he won UK IPT London, and then I was a few days later at the final table at EPT London.
Yeah. Good week for the Scots, kind of. So then you moved on for that. You were another big notable one was you won the deep stack in one of your favourite places, Vienna, in 2014 for €46,000. A few other notable ones: GPS Newcastle, the Genton event you won 2015, 150k Vegas in the win. You came second in the last ever UKIPT ever to be in Birmingham. EPT Prague, you came second in the national event for 184 grand 2017. Then you done a few of the party poker events.
The next day, when I came second in that for 180,000 or whatever, the very next day there was a party poker event across the road.
The high roller.
And I bought in last second, and I chopped it heads up, and I came second. We flipped a coin basically for the trophy, and I came second. But we chopped it heads up, so that was a back-to-back, basically 180. Then next day over there,
and then the next year, I've got this notable. You won event number 1 in, I think it was Barcelona Party Poker Open for 250k euros. Now, this coincided with you starting your sponsorship, as you can see behind you, with Party Poker in July 2018. How did that come about?
I was always wanting to get sponsored by Party Poker, and it was kind of, I kept hearing things in the grapevine, and there was wee bits and bobs possibly going to happen, but the time wasn't right for myself and Party Poker at times, and then eventually it just clicked, and Tom Waters gave me a deal.
Oh, okay.
Tom Waters and Rob Young gave me a deal. Tom Waters said, "This is good to go," and I went, "I will snatch it up in a second."
Was it because of the prestige of being a sponsored player with Party Poker, or was it just because it was a official sponsorship package?
I got offered so many deals prior to this. I'm saying, like, I think I got offered like 4 contracts, but none of them were anywhere close to Party Poker on that level. I'm saying, like, Party Poker are just so much bigger than anybody else. I must have got offered 4 contracts, and I gave them to Feraldo to have a look at a few times and say to him, "What do you think about this?" And we both hummed and hawed over them, and we both decided it's not that good compared to like other opportunities out there. And then Party Poker came along, and I didn't even need to ask Feraldo his opinion. It was an easy yes.
And so you're regarded as a sponsored pro ambassador. You'd play online as well as live, as you can see the Scottish badge on you. Does that take a lot of weight off your shoulders, having a backing or a backer, as opposed to being on your own dime, as the Americans would call
it? I don't. It takes a bit of weight off my shoulders with certain elements of things that I can get from Party Poker that I wouldn't have got if I'm not obviously sponsored by them. I'm saying, like, it does give me a good income. I'm saying, like, but it's mainly about what you put in is what you get back. But at the same time, I'm saying, like, Party Poker, like, it was just more about me reaching the pinnacle of my success as being a poker player, and signing for Party Poker is like the cherry on the cake, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm saying, like, I'm just proud to wear the Party Poker logo. That's basically it. As cheesy as it sounds, I'm being totally honest. I'm saying, like, just proud to wear the badge and be an ambassador for them and try and not do silly stuff, but at the same time, like, be fun, because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, being the party.
That's it, party, eh? Ludo, the man who puts party, the party in Party Poker.
There was nobody better than that than Mike Sexton. He was always the man at every. Only got to know him the last 2 years. I'm saying, like, but honestly, he was always the main guy. Every time I was at a Party Poker stop, he was the one that kind of like gave you off that energy. He was always the oomph all the time.
Yeah, the aura came from Mike. Just iconic figure, and unfortunately passed away not that long ago. and will be sorely missed. As you say, an iconic man in all elements of what he'd done. Going from all the highs you've had, Ludo, we've had a few people talk about the lows as like a kind of warning to people that it's not all about the glitz and glamour. You any personal stuff, personal experience that, you know, the shit times that you've kind of had to slap yourself and waking up, or?
I think the shit times just make you the player you are today, I'm saying. So you need the shit times. I'm saying everyone's had the shit times, but I don't look at the past. I know I've had plenty of shit times, lots of them.
Yeah.
I've went broke several times. I've had 50 grand, I've had 100 grand, I've had 200 grand, I've had 300 grand. I went broke. I'm saying 10 times. But the thing about going broke, I'm saying, like, I think it just makes you stronger. Like Bryn's talked about this before. Bryn's had $1 million 6 or 7 times and went broke. Obviously, I'm not on that level, but I've had 100 grand 6 or 7 times and went broke. But I'm saying, like, Bryn plays 100Ks, I only play 10Ks.
Yeah, but it's equivalent. It's the same sort of equivalent.
Play some 25Ks, Bryn plays some 250Ks. You know what I mean? So he's always going to be 10x in front of me. But I've went broke several times, and I think it's just part and parcel of the procedure of becoming the man you are today in poker, if that's what you're going to classify yourself as being for the rest of your life, a professional poker player.
And do you feel you've learned from that and you won't make the same mistakes again, or do you feel that you've got to have that sort of leakage in your game?
I think, like, you can only, I'm saying, like, you will eventually learn from it, and you do learn from each individual stage of it. But at the same time, I'm saying, like, you will learn from it, but I think it'll get to a stage where you say to yourself, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm saying, like, and I have done that. I've done that the last few years. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. But I'm saying every now and again, I do go back to doing stupid things. But I'm saying I don't mind it. I think as long as you do what's right first before you do stupid things, and just build a foundation before you do a silly thing, so that you've got something to fall back on.
Yeah, you've got to have a good sort of...
Like an investment. But the investment can be different from what people classify as investments. It's very hard for me to kind of divulge what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Like, I'm saying, like, I like to do other things at the same time as, like, I don't know, I live life on the edge at the same time as, like, anything can happen tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. You've got to have your vices as well, because you've got to enjoy the fruits. I mean, there's no point in playing for 5-6 days, winning $250,000, $500,000, and just letting it rot in the bank and not being able to take time off and detach yourself from the poker world. I mean,
yeah, like if I win like £100,000 or whatever, I'm saying, like, I might put 50 grand on Liverpool to win the league, but I need to wait 1 year. You know what I mean? So, like, it's like an investment.
Yes,
it's out the way. It's gone.
Yeah,
you understand my point?
Yeah,
so it's gone. So now with the other 50,000, I can just go off my nut with it. I've got a 50 grand investment.
Yes. Yeah, no, of course. I mean, you're on about that. We've shared a few Jaegers over the years. You have that stable mentality of kind of bankroll management. You've got your investments, so like gambles, as some would put it. You've got a good squad of people around you. You've mentioned you've got Dino, Feraldo, Colshay, people like that. All people who have weighed in with a few stories. I've got one that, I mean, as you say, you like a gamble. A certain person was driving you home one night and needed to go for a pee at the services. And in the time it took them to go for a pee, you had already done 500 quid on the buggies.
Who's that?
Somebody.
I must have done this several times, but I don't even remember. I don't even remember it.
Oh, I can relate, mate. Listen, the flashing lights and stuff like that.
It's hard to stay away. It's hard to stay away.
Where are you going to go? Like the schedule comes out for the year, everywhere's on it, and you think to yourself, I'm going to play, but I'm going to go for the ruffle as well.
Barcelona has to be number one. I'm saying, like, if you're talking about like a party poker stop, Barcelona for a party poker stop, full stop. I'm saying, like, it's just the best. It's the place to be.
What about a
if
stop?
you're talking about like, if you're talking about a stop like
The Ruffle.
any other stop, I'm saying like Aussie Open. Oh, sorry, Aussie Millions.
Melbourne now.
Like Melbourne has to be the best number one stop, but that sits by itself. That doesn't have anybody linked to it. I'm saying, but if you're talking about a party poker stop, it has to be Barcelona when they hold like a WPT there or whatever, or a Millions event. And then you've got like the Caribbean. Obviously, the Caribbean's different class.
What about in the different aspect of the word party, as in somewhere you're going to go and play, but you're going to enjoy it more than play? That sort of party atmosphere.
Barcelona.
Barcelona as well, yeah?
Mm.
Fair enough.
I think Barcelona is just like such a good city. I think it's just the best for just chilling out. You've got all sorts of different vibes. You can go and have a good night and party at a nightclub. You can chill out at the coconut bar. You can go down beside the beachfront, have a beautiful dinner. A lovely setting. I'm saying, like, it's fantastic, honestly.
Going forward, if lockdown was to end tomorrow, what would be the next thing you'd want to do? Sorry, if Corona was to end tomorrow and there was no restrictions, you could do what the fuck you wanted, what's the first thing on your list?
Probably straight abroad.
Yeah?
Yeah, with the boys. Away with Dean and Feraldo or whatever to anywhere. Croatia, Greece.
Yeah, you were in Bratislava a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, we popped to Bratislava because it wasn't on the fucking list.
Yes.
Scotland didn't have it on the list. The minute we fucking touched down, I get a text message from my good friend saying they've put fucking Slovakia on the list. So now we're in Bratislava thinking to ourselves, fuck my life. When we go home, we're going to have the 2-week quarantine. But anyway, we had a good time in Bratislava, but also we got the bad news the minute we touched down. The main event was cancelled.
Yeah, that would have been me. I messaged Feraldo about that because I know him, you, Dino, and Feraldo's brother were going over for that. So, but it's a brilliant place. Bratislava is one of my top places as well to go. What a place! When there's no restrictions.
It's very similar to Prague. It's very similar to Prague, in my opinion. Just the way they just when you go into the city centre and at the town centre, it's all very similar to Prague, isn't it? It's the old buildings and that. Yeah.
A few nights not being able to no remembering how I got home kind of sprung to mind, but I think that's the same for any fucking stop, to be honest with you, Ludo. Anywho, we'll wrap that up there, Ludo. It has been an absolute pleasure, taking up a lot more of your time than I thought we were going to. You take care, and I'll hopefully see you on the felt sooner rather than later, mate, okay?
It's been an absolute pleasure, Ross. Thank you.
Take care, bro. Thank you.
Stay on.
Cheers.